inform the secretary about, but secretary, if you would call the roll.
Sure. Start with Chair Biggs present,
Here.
Vice Chair Fagan.
Here.
Treasurer Smith. Here. Secretary Archer is present, and moving from my left, Commissioners Kiflayev.
Here.
Stryker. Here. Montana.
Here.
Maddox. Here. Kepler.
Here.
White.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Coach Neal.
Present.
And the three absences tonight are Nick Bates, Simon Dallas, and Rachel Ward.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So any additions, if everybody had a chance to look at the agenda that was sent out over the weekend, is there any additions or deletions that we need to make to the agenda? Hearing none, we shall move on to the approval of minutes. Did everyone receive the minutes and get a chance to read them? We always get them. Thank you to our secretary. Are there any additions or deletions to the minutes? Okay, none. With none, I move to approve the distributed minutes via email. Second. Second, yes, the second. So moved.
Thank you.
So we're jumping right in. So City of Columbus staff reports. We'll start with who's in the audience right now. So, if the city attorney's office will come forth.
Sure. So good evening, everybody. Do we want a mic for me or no?
Yeah, I say yes for the,
Do whatever you all.
It's for the Facebook folks to be able to hear you.
All right, so just a couple quick
yes.
Just a couple of quick updates for me, from the city attorney's compliance office. Had a couple of problem properties involving narcotics, that we've gotten involved with over the last month or so, or at least since I was with you all last. One is 91 Oral Avenue. So that's gonna be, if you're familiar with the certified station at Broad, Sylvan, Broad and Oral, right in that vicinity. If you go north of Oral, OREL Avenue, just before you get to the Camp Chase Trail, one of the last few houses on that lot, unfortunately, the owner had passed away in 2019. For some period of time, it seems some relatives were caring for the property, but things gradually devolved to what I think could be fairly described as just a squatting situation where folks were just using drugs in the home, and folks who were there, I don't know of any relation to the decedent, so that home remains boarded up. I know our community liaison officer Cody has been truly gone above and beyond what's required of him, at least in driving by, making sure it stays boarded up, and the like. So we just got a big preliminary injunction from Judge Mingo, allowing us to keep those boards on the house during the pendency of the case, set for another court date in August. And earlier today, filed a lawsuit against the owners of 190 to 210 North Huron Avenue. This is a 4-building, approximately 16-unit apartment complex where Huron Avenue dead ends near the Camp Chase Trail. This is a place that saw quite a bit of drug activity over the last couple of years, just an enormous volume. And it served as, actually a lot of drug activity there served as the basis for a pretty significant felony drug trafficking case, racketeering case that Brandon County Prosecutor's Office has recently indicted here in the last couple of months. So we'll have the owners of that complex in court, and look to get some mitigation, make sure that problem doesn't repeat. Before I turn it over to my supervisor, Steve Dunbar, to talk with you all a little bit more about the Greyhound case. Any questions for me? All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Hi folks, I'm Steve. I work with Rob in the city attorney's office. Our group is the property action team. So we do the nuisance abatement stuff, everything from the houses Rob talks about to the bars, the clubs, the apartment complexes, and kind of all points in between. So, tonight, I'm talking to you a little bit about our Greyhound case or cases. I did the Greyhound cases downtown and then followed them out to the Wilson Road property. Really, what we did with that case, it's the same thing Rob's doing with the houses and we do with most everything. You bring a lawsuit, you get a preliminary injunction, basically set down some rules to try and tighten everyone up while we figure out the end game. For a number of reasons, things have drug out with the Greyhound case, but we've finally gotten to where, what would typically be a step one, which is an order from a court that they must dial in basically the volume. At the end of the day, that the parcel, it's zoned such that you can use it for a bus depot. What they did there is 8 billion times more than what that site can handle. So the court order is basically rein it way back. And the best way that we've kind of come to kind of put a bright line out there that we think we'll be able to enforce is there's a transition period. This doesn't fully come into effect till September, but to use it for transfers only. Our traffic people tell me this is a big thing. Basically, instead of any bus route starting there or stopping there, you get a lot of people coming, whatever, from Indianapolis to Cleveland, and they stop while their bus goes to Pittsburgh and they get off there. That is good because, at least in theory, now the case stays open. We monitor all this stuff. You don't have the foot traffic coming and going. You don't have the cars dropping off, picking up. You have people there for a period of time while they're waiting for the next bus. We shall see. They've submitted plans for exactly what that's going to look like. They're being reviewed by the city, and it's all happens under a preliminary order while the case stays open. We look for the end game that I'll talk to you all about right now. But for the here and now, it is reduce operations. We monitor it to see how it's going. This is one of those tough things that we deal with all the time. I can look at it and see, okay, the numbers are down as far as police going there. And when police go there, how long they're there. I could talk to the cops and kind of confirm that. But then I go talk to the neighbors and, well, I guess it's kind of better, but gee, someone just tried to break into my house or my car or whatever. Believe me, we understand this is not, we're there, but it is a good way to rein the activity in and just kind of see what that looks like there. At the same time, we've been doing this for some time. Once everyone kind of got done just yelling at each other, talking about, okay, what's the fix? I mean, I will tell you from our administration, I think everyone agrees you got to have service to get people city to city who can't afford a plane ticket or even their own car. But you got to do it in a way that doesn't make life hell for everyone around the place. And so that's where we're at right now. Again, we're in this preliminary period where operations at the place are going down ish. And now we're looking for the big what comes next. I will tell you that we've got the city has a department, well, within Department of Development or Economic Development Division that does site searches for businesses, all types of businesses that come to Columbus and say, I want to do a whatever. Can you help me? That group, we finally got engaged. They're working with Barron's and Greyhound's brokers. We'll see. We haven't landed on anything that kind of hits yet. The other big piece in this is CODA. A lot of the riders for and Greyhound's, the big visible one, but it's a number of them in bus lines, including Barron's, including Flix, including Go Bus. They want to plug into local transit. That Wilson Road property ain't a great place to plug into CODA's, local transit. There's a bus stop that takes an hour and a half to get downtown. So we're trying to find what that place is. A couple big swings and misses downtown. That was our first set of cases that led us to, fortunately, to Wilson Road. We're working with them right now. So the whole thought is, we entered the order in May. It is a 4-month period of time as they are winding down to transfers only. We are using that period of time to look for places where they can You know, the thought is that if transfers are happening there and that's not a dumpster fire, you know, that we now have a smaller hunk of something that's, it might be the rowdiest hunk of something, but a smaller hunk of something that we're looking to locate somewhere else. We ain't there, but the nice thing is with that order, they've got to wind it down at Wilson Road no matter what. Gives us a good amount of leverage to say we don't have to hand you the perfect site, but you know, we'll try to work with you to get something that when folks try to come to town on your bus, they're able to plug into the Coco line. Would have questions. I don't know how this works. You call, do I call?
No, we just asked.
So. Given they need to continue their business, obviously. When they go and purchase another property and they do this again, it all starts all over again.
So the hope is that, I mean, I will tell you, I have now, you know, site number 1, site number 2, site number 3, we have never been in a position, mostly just because everyone's butting heads, to say, let's sit down and ahead of time. Let's look at what that place might be. Let's vet that with traffic, with police, with community. This is the first thing, and I've been involved with this one for about a half dozen years, that we have finally been in a position to sit down and say, okay, we, the city, say we want you in the city of Columbus. Instead of just you pop up, we try to smack you out of there. You pop up, we smack you out of there. We're trying to get ahead of that right now.
What is the city's great aversion to having a Greyhound station downtown? I mean, really, that's what I keep hearing repeatedly, people ask repeatedly, and as somebody who rides CODA and doesn't drive, that seems to make the most sense.
Yeah, so I think, let me just say, I mean, I'm one person in this call. I'm the one that does the core part, but I mean, I will tell you, you know, big picture is just the history downtown has been such. I think everyone's kind of a little hurt on how exactly is this gonna work. I would tell you part of that is just, and this is something Greyhound, most of you I think know this, they get bought by some German company that they have a bus subsidiary, but the biggest thing they like about Greyhound is you own huge hunks of property in the middle of every downtown in every city in America and Canada. So that site downtown is 4 acres, the historic Greyhound site. It was just so big they couldn't patrol it, and it was a god awful mess. Then they move into the old city center garage with CODA. I think my 2 cents, CODA did not appreciate what they needed. It was a god awful mess. And I do think, you know, downtown you have concentration of homeless folks, and just because that's where you have pedestrians, I think you have more interactions. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, other than the places we're talking about. I mean, just the way CODA's set up is downtown's kind of the hub of all of it. So that's the natural fit. Although they have transit centers at different places around town that are kind of a bus ride away from that hub. But if you ask me, again, having been part of how we got there, is just, we've seen 2 examples now where it did not work at all.
Are those 2 examples because they were downtown? Or are those 2 examples because it was poorly done?
So
I don't-
I heard of.
Because I think we're seeing, for example, now on West Side, that
Right.
tells me it's not the process, well, it is the process, it's not the location. We need to figure out a procedure that works.
And I think it's a little bit of both. Just so you know, when I say, you know, over to, believe me, I'm not ignoring Wilson Road. When we were talking about why not downtown, it was those 2 spots. So, I mean, part of it is the spot, especially proximity to residential. I think you can do so much. The other is operationally. I mean, I would tell you, CODA was able to get the city center garage in a pretty good spot. CODA employs a small army of special duty police officers. That's a big part of why they were able to get it there. Getting it there was not a fiscally sustainable thing for CODA, says CODA. So I think that's the big boom, is that, yeah, a spot, and this is a lot of what Rob and I do. A lot of times just inherent features of a piece of property or a location can help you or hurt you getting started. But I mean, listen, and I'm getting a little bit kind of beyond what I know well here, but they, meaning Greyhound and Barron's or whoever, are trying to operate within their model of people paying, not monster numbers for one's tickets. So I think no matter how you do this, looking at how a coda fits in and how a city fits in, just, I mean, we can like it, we can not like it. I think it's just part of how this has to work.
No, you go.
So given the three past examples, what is the city going to do to ensure that the fourth location doesn't end up like the last three? Because baseball, 3 strikes you're out, but the city's giving them a fourth chance because, I mean, we do need CODA, but the 1.5 hour long bus ride into any downtown or CODA hub to get around the city of Columbus isn't feasible for a lot of riders.
And I would tell you, I mean, I think a lot of folks either explicitly or implicitly rode the bus in town thinking they were gonna be downtown Columbus, looked around like, I'm not quite sure where I am. I'm just gonna start walking that way. The biggest thing by a mile is even though everyone has butted heads over the last 5 years, is we're sitting down and going through the process prospectively as far as where's the place, where's not the place. So it is the traffic people being involved on the front end. It is the police being involved on the front end. If and when we get to a handful of sites that seem like they're in the ballpark, it is the community involved on the front end. This will be the first time. I mean, obviously the old Greyhound site been there forever. The move to CODA happened in a hurry and just, it did not end well with Greyhound and CODA. And then the thing out here was them just running out here because we tossed them out of that. So hopefully we get ahead of this stuff in a way.
Then a follow-up is, given the particular situation of Greyhound in your office, what are you doing in your department to ensure that the process you're going through now is the process you go through with other companies like this? Because it sounds like what you're doing now is what you should have done after you kicked them out of the last location. Instead of waiting till they got to this third one to then be like, oh, well, we have the means and the resources to actually do this the right way. Let's do it the right way.
And I would tell you, I mean, to some extent, part of my job is we bring the lawsuit when they're all the people that I'm talking about that are, I mean, I'm kind of coordinating it. They ain't people that work for me. I can say, go do this, go do this. So I mean, I can drag the traffic people into the conversation, the cops into the conversation, the economic development people into the conversation, CODA into the conversation, but it ain't as, I wish it was easy as we can kind of set the process to make sure we do it. I would tell you, generally speaking, we have had a really good history. When you look kind of at everything that we do, from the smallest places to the biggest places, and being able to work proactively with businesses. I always say our greatest wins, no one reads about. They're not in the paper. They're not the lawsuits. This CODA thing, it's interesting. I mean, one, it's this odd thing where everyone agrees. I have the marching orders and it makes sense. We want them here. It's not like shoot them up nightclub. We could say go away forever. So we are trying to work with, we want you here, but everything we've seen of you here doesn't work. So pushing those two things together. Again, true, it's the first time in our dealing with this place that we are doing this prospectively. I mean, to be frank, the way we do it with most everything else.
So I have a question, and it's gonna be the last question. So my question actually is a lot of what you just spoke about, was like, how are you going to be proactive and how are you going to be collaborative and who are the players? And then how is it documented and how is it sustainable? All those kind of things. And it sounds like this is the first time really that's kind of happened for the CODA situation.
Yeah, for this case,
That's
again, I've said a million times, we do this all day, every day with
Yeah.
properties all over the city.
Yeah.
So it's not like, this is not something we know how to do. It is just because of everything that led here, we weren't able to kind of get ahead in communicating. So I mean, the way we do this, there's a couple different layers to it.
Yeah.
The big one is just, kind of initially within the city, make sure we are on the same page. First looks are traffic, police are the big ones.
Yeah.
Coda's a huge one in this, and if we put them somewhere where they're an hour and a half away from everywhere else, that doesn't work. They're in there, and then once we get to, I mean, it's just so hard now, we're looking all over the city, we've come and gone from a bunch of places. Once we get a handful of spots that look like they're doable, that's when we come out and talk to the neighbors.
So I'm also curious, I said it was the last question, but we all do this, right? That, it early, sounds familiar when you talked about the process, but the community getting involved and being able to talk to, sounds a lot like the zoning process where they were, having these, public forums. It sounds a lot like Columbus City Schools that was supposed to have all these conversations, right? With community. And I just hope that we really like wrap in the community. And I'm hoping that that will be the case, right? So we can hear their voices, because commissions all over the city can, survey and talk, about what they found, but to hear it directly from the community's mouth is important. So that's it. Okay. Thank you so much. You can lay it right there, turn it off and lay it there. Thank you for coming. Yeah. Division of Police, Sergeant Brophy, I don't think he's here. Yeah. Okay, Division of Community Engagement, since Mr. Calloway is right in front of me. Come on up. Thank you.
Thank you. Cole Calloway, is it on? Okay. Cole Calloway, Columbus City Council, Community Engagement Division. Good to see everybody. I have a couple of updates. I'll start with our capital improvements budget. We are doing public hearings. That's going to be on Monday and Tuesday of next week. Both of them are in person. One is at Linden Community Center, and the following is at the Fire Academy, which is on the south side. So we also have Councilmember White, who is one of our newer council members. He represents District 9 on the north side. He's doing a South Side Community Hours, so it's gonna be at New Beginnings Church, and that's gonna be on July 11th, 6 to 8. So it's a good opportunity to interface with him, and get to know, some of his priorities and the committees that he chairs. And then I'll end it on a lighter note. Melissa Green, she's gonna be hosting a summer splash. So that's just a good opportunity to, if you have little ones, bring them out to the pool. We're hosting that one at Glenwood, and that's gonna be on the 19th of July. So that's pretty much it for me. If you guys have any questions, I'm sorry. That's 2 to 4. 2 to 4, right. You guys have any questions for me?
Yeah, so I know our council's starting to move more towards a participatory budgeting process. Are we gonna see any aspects of that implemented this year in the budgeting process?
So I think they're still in the ideation phase of what that's gonna look like. I think that we're pretty quickly here now, so I don't think that we'll see it in this year's budget. But certainly a conversation to move forward. And I think that that's a conversation that's gonna happen on an ongoing basis. So definitely more to come on that.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions from commissioners? Any questions from the audience for Mr. Calloway? No? Okay, and I'm going to take a step back because I forgot to ask if there was any questions from the audience regarding the Greyhound bus. There's one right there. I'm sorry, so my apologies. So if you want to stand up and ask a question if you.
I have a couple questions, the city attorney's office. The order that is in place currently allows the ticket sales at the site, and we kind of toss this around at the neighborhood level. Can't quite figure out the philosophy behind that, and what's allowed to use it for, embarking or getting off the bus and such. Can you explain that a little bit?
Did everybody hear the question? Okay.
If so, Zach asked, hey, if we're saying they're gonna be transfers only, why are they able to do ticket sales at the site? Everything we are hearing, and again, this is from our transportation people also, is that selling tickets is like an ancillary thing to having people at your site, even if they are there primarily transfers. We think that, you know, it's weird. We also look for bright lines, enforceable lines, that having no bus route shall start or end there, and there's a disclosure provision for us to request and get their bus lines. Is the best way to guarantee we don't have the big numbers of cars and people and all this stuff that we've seen. But, you know, I will say it again, that this is a preliminary order. It says explicitly that the judge retains jurisdiction to see how this goes. We do this all the time. We come up with something that makes sense, and we are sitting around in the room working through it, and we see what it looks like in the room.
As far as enforcement goes, is that something you're gonna be pulling on your own, or is it gonna be up to the neighborhood community to kind of self-police it and make sure that you're not seeing, people driving up and hopping on buses?
So it's a little bit of both. He asked, so how does enforcement work? Is that done proactively by the city, or are the neighbors stuck with it? I mean, I will tell you, I can sit here and say, we'll take care of all of it in the city. Can't. We'll do the disclosures to see what the routes are. We work with police, I mean, every step of this way. I've been working with all 3 shifts of police. We'll be able to work with them. They'll be able to spot check. Code will be able to spot check. It's gonna be perfect. And I would say I've come to Zach's house a few times, and this is what I say. I mean, there's no way around. I can look at the numbers. I can talk to the cops, folks who actually have to live 24/7 beside a place. There's no way around us. Bugging you to see what you're actually seeing there.
Yeah, and city attorneys have been great, and they're very open with their communication for the neighborhood. We appreciate it. Just looking at the companies and how they operate, it's definitely a bottom line business. And it's a little bit dubious, at least to us and myself, that if we're allowing ticket sales, if someone says, hey, I need to get, a bus to Cleveland, here's $50 or whatever, they're not, say, yeah, you have to come back, or you can go across the city to get up on a bus there, and they're just gonna let them on, because, logically, I think what's gonna happen there, so we wanna make sure that there's some sort of check to make sure that that's not happening. It's not just relying on us to constantly, have cameras trained in place and just watching it happen, and then, of course, the regular incidents that happen as a result of that. One other question, if I have time.
Yes.
Is the transfers only thing contingent? And I think you kind of alluded that it's not, but is it contingent on that 3rd site selection approval?
No, so, again, that's what's nice is at September, whatever the date is, there is a date certain, so I have a top of my head, in September. I mean, that side is transferred only. And so I will tell you, I mean, this is a little bit of playing chicken, because nothing prevents, in other cities this has happened, Greyhound or any other bus line from just dropping people off and picking them up anywhere in town, and just pulling off to the side of the road and letting them. So, the transfers only is locked in at that place. The alternatives at that point are not keep doing drop off pickups at Wilson Road. The alternatives are, do we have this, site that is appropriate for drop off pickup? Are we able to work through something that is appropriate for the neighbors? Or is it just a free for all over town where Coda's running around town? I'm sorry, Greyhound's running around town, just dropping people off on the curb, and we're trying to chase them. So you are in good shape. Some of your friends and neighbors around the city may not be.
All right. And then the last part of that is the security requirements that you guys have now, and I think a lot of them are probably self-imposed by the owners there. Will they continue after transfers only?
So what, in my world, it's just what they're ordered to do, they have to do. I don't rely on goodwill much. So what we said is 4 months, so in 4 months from the order, so September, they are transfers only. They have to maintain current levels of security for an additional 2 months, just to kind of see how it goes. At that point, we have just kind of our catch-all. They must maintain sufficient levels of security to prevent the property from being a public nuisance. So the bright line, we extend into the transfers only period for a while, just to make sure transition goes well. At that point, it's kind of like it's not us relying on their goodwill, they assume their own risk. If they decide we want to dial it back, they could do that under the order 6 months and a day down the road. But if they assume no risk of any problems there, they would be in violation of the order if their security is not such that it prevents them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No? Thank you again. Thank you. Appreciate it. Department of Neighborhoods, Miss Eddie.
Evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
I have very few announcements for you for once. The first is, the Rise Up Block Party at Ponce Park is set for July 11th from 5 to 7. We hope to see all of you there, everyone in the audience and those at home as well. The next and second to last announcement is, the next training, actually won't be a training. It will be the summer networking session. That will be at the Columbus Museum of Art on August 22nd at 6 p.m. Hope to see all of you there. Hope to have some West Side representation. We will have a short presentation, but really we want the event to be networking, just have an opportunity to connect with commissioners across the city. And then finally, website training. So I know there was originally a formal training scheduled with the Neighborhood Design Center, that was canceled. There are one-on-one training sessions available with Juliana Silveira with Neighborhood Design Center. Please just let me know if you're interested in that, and I will connect you with her directly so you can set that up at a time convenient to you. And that is all I have for you. Any questions for me?
Any questions from commissioners? Any questions from audience? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you had a short list today. Yeah.
Nice vacation.
Thank you.
Yeah, she put everything in her email. That's why she didn't have much to say. Mr. Plock is not here either. Neither is Reverend Dr. Orr, who speaks for him when he's not here. Okay, so we're gonna move on. Are there any announcements from commissioners? Okay.
Check. 1, 2, 1 Jordan Road. I want to first start by thanking all of our neighbors at the Highland West Civic Association for the litter cleanup this past weekend. Hope that went well, and I look forward to seeing you future one. And tomorrow at Highland Youth Garden, 5 to 6:30 p.m. is the community dinner immediately following their produce event on Wednesday. So if you're in the area, Highland Youth Garden is on South Highland Avenue, just next to the elementary school. And that again is a community dinner from 5 to 6:30 p.m. at the garden.
No impact from Boom, right? Like it's not going to get
It's
changed.
in their newsletter today.
Mhm.
Okay, that's it.
Is there any other announcements from commissioners? Any from the audience? No? We're moving right along. There are no presentations this evening. So we're going to continue on with the agenda. I'm going to skip my report and go to our vice chair, Dan. You'll have a report this evening. Secretary?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay.
I do.
I know you. That's why I didn't even ask. I'm like, I know he does. Yes. Yeah, now we gotta get out there. You know.
All right, so this is my monthly treasurer's report for the period ending June 30th. Remaining, we have about 4,200. And that's actually representing something that I want to vote on tonight, which is our budget that we discussed in the finance committee. Chair Bates Fry, is that something you'd like to vote on now during my treasurer report? or-
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, we can move on to that. Josh, do you have the budget? Or no, the proposed budget?
If it wasn't in the email, then I can.
Yeah, I sent it out to everyone right after,
Yes, it was June 30th. It came in at 10:04 PM.
He was up late that night.
I had many projects out to work on. Yeah, so this is kind of the culmination of everything we talked about at, Public Finance Committee. So that top part right there, the unencumbered balance, matches my, treasurer's report. That's essentially how much we have to spend. And then that second portion you see down there under, 2024 to 2025 operating budget. That's what, we proposed in, Finance Committee. The only two changes are, subscriptions, which, we talked about, dropping Esri. And also adding Adobe Acrobat, which zoning committee currently uses. And then the other was postage. We found out that zoning, we get free postage from Department of Neighborhoods. But there are things such as thank you cards and just other various items that might not be covered. And so we just wanted to make sure that we budgeted for those sorts of events. But the budget is for $3,420. And that leaves us with about just over 800 additional, just as things come out between now and April 30th, which is when this budget cycle ends. But with that, are there any questions on the proposed budget?
Is there any questions regarding the line items, like?
Yeah, that's what this will be our operating budget between now and April 30th. And should hopefully cover all of our needs as a body. Yeah, if there's no questions, I move to adopt the budget. Can I get a second?
Second.
And then did you want to do a roll call?
Yes, let's do a verbal roll.
Okay.
You need the mic.
No, well, I do have one.
Okay.
Should actually type to make sure that we're syncing up here. Okay, thank you very much. We'll start with our committee chair, Smith.
Yes.
Okay, and we'll move on to Chair Bates Fry,
Yes.
Vice Chair Fig.
Yes.
And over here on the left, Commissioner Skipwith,
Yes.
Stryker,
Yes.
Hardrose, yes.
Yes.
Montana, Maddox,
Yes.
Kepler,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
yes, and.
Yes.
So move.
Long day.
It has been a long day. So move.
Thank you.
Okay. Did you have anything else?
I'm good.
You're good? Okay, great. So I just wanted to, give a report on the GHAC summit. We had a summit, on, what date was it? I tell you, it's been a long day. What was the date of the summit? June 8th. Thank you. Oh, BC, she's back there with 8 fingers up. So we had a summit, in light of all the things that were happening that weekend. It was actually a pretty good turnout. I was, pleased with it. If you weren't able to attend, we have on our Facebook page, the panels that were, facilitated. And so I'm gonna also, give a couple minutes to the committees that had panels. I facilitated the Future of the Hilltop panel. And it went longer than we thought, but there were lots of questions around that. So that turned out really well. We had a, panel on public safety led by, our public safety chair, Ms. Kipple. I always say her name wrong, but I think I got it right that time. And it was a great, panel. And one of our own commissioners just won. It was just Coach, right? Yeah, was on that panel and it was very informative and very interesting. And then we had a panel around, Rex and Parks. I guess it was more of a talk. Yes, and, Commissioner, White, it was the one that facilitated that. So I was really pleased about that. We had around 14 exhibitors, even in spite of all the things that were happening in the city. There must have been like, I don't know, 5 or 6 events happening on the hilltop that day. And so that was, pleasing, and interesting. There's a lot of things we could do, for next year if the commission at that time decides to go forward with, having that as an annual, event. There were about 40 to 45, I counted, people in attendance in and out for the 3 hours, that came and got materials and information from our exhibitors. There were so many exhibitors and they were all centered around quality of life for Hilltop residents, right? So there was mental health, there were a number of different things. There were, opportunities for education, there were nonprofits that held events on the Hilltop, so I was pleased at that too. I would like to thank each and every commissioner that like jumped in, and helped set up. We didn't have to break down. I would like to give a shout out. I was hoping he would be here this evening. We had to find another venue, well, 2 times had to find another venue because we couldn't have it at the places we wanted them. So I am a little bit grayer for it. Reverend Orr stepped up and provided us, use of his church, and they were so accommodating, so wonderful. It was a perfect venue, for what we wanted to do. They donated some coffee. I would like to thank, Mr. Esther, who is One Divine Line, who donated a lot of food for the event. So shout out to her as well. Thank you for that. Did any of the facilitators want to talk, for a minute about your panels, or are you good?
No, I think you did a good job summarizing.
Okay, you're welcome.
Except
Yeah.
one more thank you.
Oh, I got a list of thank yous,
Oh,
but
yeah.
go ahead, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say Lisa for providing pizza.
Yeah, I was gonna say it. I have
Oh,
it here.
cool. Never
Okay.
mind.
James, did you have something? Did you want to say something about your speaker?
Just that I look forward to the block party over at Hans. There's a lot going on with our parks departments, when it comes to revitalization, redevelopment. Especially when it comes to like wildlife programs that the city's now focusing a lot on. And I just really appreciate everybody who came, to the summit, because it was a good turnout of vendors and people.
Yep. I thought it went well for all the shifting and adjusting and flexibility we had to do. So thank you to each commissioner. Again, Ashley, thanks to, Lisa Boggs. She donated pizza that I didn't get a pizza. But Lisa Boggs won. And I appreciate her as well. She's a fellow South Central resident, and I'm glad that she was so accommodating for us. Moving along. And again, I think I said it, but I'm gonna say it again. If you want to listen to the panels, right, actually, they're on our Facebook page. The panels were recorded and they're there, so you can listen to them forever, if you would like to do that. Up next, reports of committees. Zoning. And Dan, neither one of our zoning chairs could be here this evening, so Dan is gonna provide the report for zoning.
So as you can see from the agenda, there are no applications for us to review tonight. The next zoning committee meeting will be on July 16th at 6 o'clock here at the library. And it looks like there are going to be 3 applications to be heard at that point. 1894 Sullivan, it's 1894 Sullivan. The notes are variances from a C4 requirement for a combination of 4 parcels. Again, 1894 Sullivan. The next application to be heard is 2194 and 2202 Eakin Road. It's at the Eakin and Whitehead. It's to rezone 2 vacant parcels from R2 to C4. Again, it's 2194 and 2202 Eakin Road. And then the third application is 675 South Wayne. It's Wayne and Safford. There's variances that are being requested for lot size, parking, and yard area in order to build a 1-story, 3-unit apartment building on that vacant lot. Again, that's 675 South Wayne. And so to remember, these applications, then we won't be having an August meeting, so then they'll be heard by the full commission then in September. That was the report that Rachel, our chair, gave us.
Thank you. Community Relations, Commissioner Maddox.
We did not meet past month. We will have a meeting on the 23rd at 7 p.m. at the Best Side Design on Westmore. We do need help with the South Central Hilltop National Day Out event on August 10th. Anyone who signed up for Summer Jam, please give Ashley time slots. It can work. And we need at least one more person for the Rise Up event on the 11th.
Perfect.
All right, and meeting on the 23rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Government and Legislation, Chairperson White.
We did meet and several things, but I will have a motion in September regarding election marketing material, but I have to physically have those like before we can vote on them. The other thing is if you are not running this year, but are up for election or your term is expiring, you are, the committee is formally asking you to volunteer with the election, if we do so have one. Again, that's if you're not going to be running for another term, we just ask that you help volunteer at voting locations. Those will be announced in September. We will be meeting in July to kind of solidify where those locations are going to be so we can get those announced. The selection packets are available. I probably should have started with that first, but they are on our website. If anybody is wanting to run for an area commission seat, the packets are available. We will have some printed out and then here in the library in the near future, but again, those can be printed off from our website. The only caveat is you have to be a Hilltop resident. You do need to get a minimum of 25 valid Hilltop resident signatures. And this is for a 3-year term that will commence as of January 1st, 2025. And then I do have an update on the yard signs. And I just sent an email out to everybody on the 3 items that we would need to purchase to kind of finalize those, because we got 20 of them from the print shop that we did not have to pay for. And then in our budget, we did allocate $115 for pocket folders. Pocket folders aren't the catch-all that we would prefer. So it would be 60 pocket folders because the signs are double-sided. And then there's double-sided sticky tape so that we can actually adhere the pocket folders to the signs, and then some Velcro because we would have to put the pocket folders upside down to make them more weather resistant. So to keep anything in there from sliding out, we would just need Velcro in the bottom of it. I sent an Amazon link to all 3 of those items to everybody based off of the finance committee email. All those totals came to no more than $65.
Do we have?
Do you need a motion?
Do they have to be bid?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I just wanna suggest that you bump the price up a little bit. Because Amazon's not an approved vendor, so it might be a lot more expensive or elsewhere. So, you know, just to give yourself some.
Okay.
So I'd like to make a motion to spend up to $115 on the three items that I emailed everybody, based off of Amazon for the yard signs. Again, those are already ready to go. We just need the pocket holders and then slap them on there for use for any of the commission, committees that would like to use them. Got a second?
Second.
You beat Jenny.
No, I didn't, I didn't.
Okay. So we got a second, right? I was so busy laughing. Okay, so moved. Yeah.
Roll call or you want to?
Roll call.
Okay, we will start with, Chair White,
Yes.
and moving from my left, Commissioner Stefan, Stryker,
Yes.
Hardrose, yes, Montana,
Yes.
Maddox.
Yes.
Fry,
Yes.
Fagan,
Abstain.
abstain, Kepler,
Yes,
Moore.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, so moved. Okay. Great. Humans, was that it?
Yes. that was
Okay, great. Thank you. Human Services and Education, Chairperson Audra.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to do my job for next week. We met, last Thursday, 6/27 at Best Side. Our primary focus continues to be on response to Columbus City Schools Facilities Task Force processes, which have now concluded in its initial iteration. We are drafting some additional language, to get on the record with the school board for next steps. I want to reiterate to the community that, last week when the board met, they were presented a plan from the task force, but there was no vote on which or if any schools would close. And the school board did not vote, citing the desire for additional local feedback. So I want to just use this moment to thank everyone who helped us consider our process in responding to that, particularly all the parents and students who came out and got on the record. We had young people testifying at school board. Some of the other organizations, Ohio Organizing Collaborative and others who rallied the parents and the students. This is a big deal for us, and Commissioner Kepler was there as well to say a few words at a recent rally. And so there will be more to come regarding facilities planning for city schools. So I just ask everyone to please stay vigilant, pay attention to what's happened, and if you have any questions or things that you want to raise, you can contact me directly at ghacjoe@gmail.com. Okay, other projects slowly moving forward, they include some partnerships and work for school traffic infrastructure for any potential future capital improvement budget. And then we're also considering getting on the record as a committee on short-term rentals, especially considering zoning and development changes. Making sure that short-term rentals are appropriately placed anywhere there will be additional density, we think is important. And then there's also rental policy in the light of future zoning and development. Those related to housing and schools are the two big topics lately. Next meeting is currently scheduled for Wednesday, July 17th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. here at the library, and I triple checked, does not look like there's any holidays on that day, which is why we had to reschedule for last month, but thanks to everyone who was flexible in that. Have you take any questions or pass the mic? Meeting that's my left, in case there's any liquor permit review.
We're good. Next up is are you done? I'm sorry. Okay. Liquor permit review, Chairperson Stryker.
I just wanted to make a quick announcement that I'm just gonna call up my calendars to make sure. So our July meeting, excuse me, September meeting, I believe will be on the 3rd. Want to correct me on that?
September. I don't see it.
First,
So that would be you said what, September?
that would be the current one.
The third would be September, the
Yep.
first Tuesday.
First Tuesday is the third.
Really for a full commission meeting.
Okay.
That's the full commission.
That following Friday, the sixth, is when I'm going to submit any feedback we receive with the liquor permit committee. If you look on the website, as the, sorry, it's not, I'm pointing to the screen, you all turned around, it's not on the screen. If you go on the website and under the liquor permit committee, there is a link that, for you to give feedback on any, liquor permitted businesses in the Hilltop area, and you could fill that out, if you do have any feedback on any local businesses. The reason it's gonna be submitted that Friday, I wanna give it time for us to have the meeting, so I can make the announcement again. But, the city does want that information as soon as possible, like in September. So that is the day that I'm going to submit, I'll cut it off at like that Friday at like midnight. So I just wanted to make that announcement now, I'll be posting social media, sending out emails. But just wanted to make that quick announcement, but please have any feedback in by the 6th.
And that survey is to provide feedback from businesses that sell liquor.
That's correct.
Okay.
It's just information for the city. The city makes these decisions around September. They're finalized by the end of October. And if the city wants to make any objections to liquor permits, they do that the beginning of the following year.
All right, any questions surrounding that? Yes, ma'am.
I have a quick question. Do you have the list from the ones from last year? Because if I remember correctly, we had some that were problematic already. And so I'm wondering if, if we have that list, that we can look at those and see like, well, are they still causing problems at those particular locations? Like, didn't we send a list last year of ones that we said were like problematic?
I can answer that, which is that, no, we did not. I think I've only received maybe one person has only filled out that form on our website. So I did not send anything other than the request that we got from the city, no feedback was sent. But
That was 2 years ago. I could be mistaken.
I will be sending out a list of like the current permits, but I do not have any information on like any previous investments given.
I think we could take a look and see if we could.
I can ask
figure it out.
around too, because I know there were certain ones that we had that were.
There, I do recall that there were,
Yeah.
but I don't think it was last year.
Very out.
I think it was a couple of years ago.
It
Yeah,
might have been.
yeah,
It could have
I'm not
been
sure
years
either.
ago.
What were you gonna say, Dan?
Well,
Okay,
yeah, about 2 years ago, there was a list of establishments that the city of Columbus was gonna make recommendations not to allow the state to renew their liquor licenses. And there was a list and there were, forgive me with the numbers, Carla, but I think 4 locations
Or something
here on the
like
Great
that.
Hilton.
But it was like a gas station where like had gotten shot. It
Yep.
was like some places like that that are problematic for the
Yep.
neighbors. And
Yep.
so, we might want to
Bring
kind of
that
look at that list and say, well, are these kind of doing better? That might be it.
Yeah, we can definitely bring that list forward.
Mhm.
Dan said he'll look that up. That was before my time, so I don't have any. But that'd be great. if you could.
Yeah, definitely pull that together. Yeah, it's a great idea.
thank you. Anything else? Anything else? No? Any other questions? Moving along, planning and economic development, co-chairpersons Dallas and Smith.
You have a microphone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we had a pretty busy meeting. I see actually Shelley is in the audience here. Thanks for coming. So one of the main topics we talked about was land bank, and there was 2 properties in particular that are in the process of being developed that we talked about, 168 and 199 Whitethorn Avenue. And there's just been some problems with they're currently in the phase where the basement is being built, and so there's obviously probably about 8 foot drop or so into the ground. And it's unprotected, and so we had emailed about that. They put up tape, and then and now there's no tape, so there's just not as much safety precautions, I think, as we would like as a committee. So we want to start talking more about the land bank process as a whole. Also as a tool for how we use it as a tool for affordable housing here in our neighborhood. So we're gonna, we're gonna wanna get with, folks there here in a couple meetings, so we're kind of in the pre-planning process for that. And just have more, meaningful discussions about that, before we talk to them. And kind of figure out what the process will be going forward for reviewing those applications. And then we also talked about, capital improvements. So I had met separately with, the assistant manager of Holton Park, Will, to discuss some items. Him and his staff are gonna work to give us a list of some items that could be improved at the Holton Park Community Center. And we also talked a little bit about the bike bus plan survey. Unfortunately, I believe that's closed. And then we also talked about the sidewalks on the east-west cross section of Hague Avenue, which I know that some of you had brought up a few meetings ago. And so we're looking a little more deeply at that and, you know, what areas could really benefit from sidewalks, and then just talk a little more about that, and then try and work with the public service to see if there's any room for future capital improvement budgets for that. So that's pretty much our meeting in a nutshell.
Anything else? I'm wondering if, Mr. Dunbar, if there could be anything as far as the safety issue regarding that property in the basement, if there's any kind of, not necessarily advice or counsel, I don't want to use those terms, but like anything you can add to the conversation at all? And you can right
I
now.
mean, give me the addresses again, I'll tell them to fix their holes.
Oh, thank you.
They're filled now.
Huh?
All those holes,
Oh, they are now.
yeah, they got a second floor on.
They
You're so good.
moved a little too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Set our straight.
So I think we still could do some follow-up though, right? Okay, yes.
The addresses, please.
And so those addresses are 168 and 199 Whitethorn Avenue.
But then
Okay, thank you.
there's one on Belvedere they're doing right now too, and they all three have different crews.
Mhm.
And so what I've done is called zoning, and zoning will typically drive around in their truck, go tell them,
Mhm.
and then they'll remediate the problem.
Yeah, but we have it right there, so
No,
we
no,
can
I
give
got
him the address too.
But I think it's gonna be, zoning's gonna be, I think, your point of contact for
That's
any and all.
okay. But we got somebody right in front of us, and we could do that as well. Yeah, okay?
Thank you.
Public safety, co-chairperson, Mr. Hannett, and
Yeah.
Mr. Moore.
So we met last week. And one of the things I think is gonna be effective at moving the work forward is, I just, I feel like there's decisions we wanna make that we probably need to run by the full body. And I'd love to have it scheduled sometimes where we know that we're gonna present questions to the larger board. And so our debate or our, where we are now is trying to figure out, is our work most effective at supporting people and building capacity? Or is our work most effective at, you know, doing things like door-to-door knockings and things like that? Or is it an and both? But as we hit these points, I don't feel comfortable with just the two of us making the decision. I feel like the commission should hear where our stuck points are so that we could then move the work forward in a unified manner. So I'd love to hear from the chair, vice chair possibly, on, you know, your thoughts, if we've been at this place before, and how do we begin to create solutions to that challenge?
So I'll say that it's always, in my mind's eye, for the chairs of each of the committees, that you direct your committee, right, on what you think. If it's something that the full commission needs to hear, then you bring it forward and we'll make sure that it gets on the agenda, right? And I mean, and that's how the committees have kind of been operating,
Yeah.
right? But I think what I'm just checking in.
Yes, yes.
That the question is exactly what? Just help in the direction of.
Our chart of work, what's the most effective way to move our chart of work forward?
I
Would you,
think the problem is,
Wait a minute, Joe. I got you. Go ahead.
okay, So it's more of what is our intent, what are we trying to do, right? So I think if we maybe have started in the beginning of the year, saying what is our goals, right? What are we supposed to deliver at the end of the year? That may have helped us. So now what we're contemplating about is, it's public safety. What is the role of public safety? What, and how do we do things that's more effective in the community? Because we don't really have a lot of people attending our meetings either, but then how can we be more impactful, right? So that's where we're at. OLBC, but I think you may be able to help us define that too, because some of us, I don't mind knocking on doors and talking to folks and introducing ourselves. But I also don't mind doing what you were saying as well, connecting organizations with others. We've been doing that, right?
Yeah.
We've been doing that way, so.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is you're gonna have some conversation with, Miss Eddie.
Yes.
Yes, to help you in directing the rest, your work for the rest of the year,
Mm-hmm.
correct? Okay,
And
that
then,
sounds good, and
then-
then us too, if you.
Yes,
We can be
yes.
part of that as well.
and then I have a technical assistance question. It might be an OLBZ question. I feel like as a commission, we need to have some casual time together, but then I don't know what open meeting laws say about our ability or inability to assemble that way, right? Like, I feel like our working relationship is stifled in some ways from our inability to be social with each other. And I don't know how we get around it.
It's because we do have those rules. And so OLBC and I have talked about that at great length, because there's things that I wanted to do as well.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying. And so let's just have more conversation about that, if that's okay.
Yes.
Right? Okay. We'll do that as well. Okay. Anything else?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, oh, that's right, I'm sorry.
Have the microphone next to me, so I'll use it. To Commissioner Warren and Commissioner Kipling, when we started this year, we just have written a new committee charge or committee description. So we look at that every month. And that does also help to focus, and I see that you have it on the website. So that is a way that we start meetings, is to check that. And as we were, so the facilities task force is a good example. We wanted to weigh in. And we knew that as a committee, we had been given some rope to conduct our committee business. And we went to the bylaws, and under Article 6, letter J, all findings of the committee which result in a proposed action or resolution shall be submitted for consideration in the commission at a regular or special meeting and be voted on by the full commission. But we've been writing letters, and we've been helping to align other activities that are happening in the area, which don't rise to that level. And so once I had that realization, it was a bit liberating, because now we can just go and do something that we want to, so long as it's not a proposed action or resolution. And that's where we're starting to get some momentum with that, is why we're here.
The shall you said was proposed action or resolution?
All findings of committees which result in proposed action or resolutions shall be submitted. And I'm signing things just as a committee. I'm not signing anything as a full commission. I don't have that.
And that's not an action?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So, in light of time, right? Thank you for that. Maybe that was helpful, but we can have some deeper conversation. You can have some deeper conversation with Ms. Edison. She's over all the west side. She has all the commissions. She knows what's going on. Dan and I perhaps will be part of that conversation as well. And we can, move forward with that. Is that okay? How's that sound? I know, there's a question there and a question there. I'm asking the committee chairs.
I'm good.
How's that sound?
Where and when, like before our next meeting?
I don't know. We'll get there. Yes. I don't know who was first.
I was just gonna add on to the Hilltop Block Party. One of the concerns talking with my neighbors is the speed, the traffic speed that goes through that area. I think that was also mentioned. Serious problem. And in addition to that, couple drug houses that is in that area that is a real concern because we have seen an increase, prostitution. And, Malik can tell you that because I think one of the prostitutes jumped in his car when he was telling me, earlier.
Sorry.
I just jumped into his car. But the other part of it I want to share is there's a dear friend of mine, Bobby Hooper, and the Hooper family. They have put on a Father's Day event, free food and entertainment for the community for over 20 years. And I'm going to ask Brother Hooper, Bobby Hooper, to come and speak because these are things that people don't see as far as community contacts. I spoke the Thursday with Ani. Ani asked me to speak to a group of 40 chess young men. So I think a lot of things that you do or that we do may not be seen as far as we can bring in, let everybody know. But I think you have to get out there grassroots level and do things with our young people because you can talk, but action speaks louder than words do. I mean, the action is the best thing that you can do. So the Hooper event, I'm asked Brother Hooper to come and explain what they have been doing as a family, free food, and it's like a reunion on Father's Day. And also those concerns I just mentioned about the Columbian Avenue with Hans Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. There are a lot, I do agree, there's a lot going on that is not known.
Yep.
I know I participated in something for the last 4 weeks that focused on middle school boys, African American boys. And I participated in that summer program, and so there were a number of West Side students in that program. It wasn't on the West Side, but there was a lot of West Side students on that program. So yes, I agree with you. And if there's some way that we can like get all that collective and like, you know, help to lift those programs up and those things up that people are doing out the goodness of their heart, it would be amazing. Actually.
I was just gonna say, when you had kind of asked of like how our work is most effective of like joining on and or like advocating yourselves, I think one of the things we can look to is also the Envision Hilltop plan. I had a meeting with Nick Plock today, and it's just one of the things that we can leverage. It can be leveraged for dollars and not dollars specifically that GHAC can apply for because we are not, that is not our role. But we can certainly advocate for other organizations. So if you know other organizations that are doing public safety work and they're implementing parts of the plan, like there is, there's resources available. And then kind of an update with that is, if you go to the plan website, just envisionhilltop.com, they have like a story map that's up that shows everything that's happened with the implementation of the plan. So right now it's just highlighting city projects. So if you were at the West Side Community Council conversation, we met at the new Early Learning Center on Clarendon. That's one of the projects that they have highlighted. But they're hoping to highlight more community projects. So like that would be a really cool thing of where we could highlight things like what Commissioner Neal just talked about with Father Hooper of like, this is someone that's been dedicated and having these at our parks.
Right.
But that's one of the things that Nick is going to be taking input for is moving forward of like, what is the community doing as a result of this? So just use that as, I just think we can use it as a guideline of kind of the work that we're trying to pursue.
Yep.
And the funding will follow.
And I'll just say regarding the committees, because I, talked to each of the committee chairs and asked them what they wanted to do at the beginning of the year, when I was voted in as chair, and I wanted to leave as much room for you all to be as creative, that is in line with your committee as possible, because oftentimes there are things that are, touted on the West Side, but there's the things that aren't. And I know that you all have been thinking about those things that aren't, right, that are not visible. And so I always appreciated that kind of work. So I actually think public safety is doing good work. So please don't think that you're not. And I just wanted to say that, but we are certainly here to help for sure. Last but not least, recreation and parks.
We did not meet in June due to a lot of programs and events that were going on last month and, the heat advisory for the week that we were trying to reschedule. I would just want to apologize to anybody who showed up to Lindenberg and was questioning where we were. But we will be meeting again this month on the 20th, 9 a.m. at Lindbergh Park for our park audit and cleanup. Please join us if you can. Schedule is just as is, but we're gonna push back the park so we can actually get to Lindbergh. And then I signed up for a master rain garden class through Franklin County Soil and Water. That's gonna be starting next month in August. So I'm super excited about that and seeing how I can apply that to our parks here in the Hilltop. Because we could definitely use more gardens and pollinator stations in our parks because we do have over 560 acres worth of green space. So more to come on that. The program is still open for anybody who would like to participate. It's on Tuesday evenings from August to September. I believe it's 4 weeks. It is $75, but they will have another online and it's in person. But in November, they will have an online course, which I believe will be $75 as well. If anybody's interested in that, I can share.
Okay. Did we put that training in training budgets?
So you
Okay, you don't remember when we had the meeting?
We have a group training for $500
Mhm.
as a budget item.
I mean, if the commission wants to pay for it, it was $75 and I was
I
already excited to do it. So-
I get it, but here's the thing regarding our budget, right? We have that money, there's money that we have to spend.
Yeah,
And so if it's gonna be directly related to the commission, then we can bring it to the commission and see if it's approved, if we want to. So I just wanted to put that out there. So we're gonna move on. Did you have something else?
do we wanna, does anybody have any issue with me using the commission?
Well, we can talk about that. Just a bit, yeah.
Well, I
We can-
would like to confirm with full BC since all the rules are a little weirder now,
Yeah,
so.
we talked to her.
Okay.
Yeah, we can talk to her again. Let's keep talking to her. Yeah, let's keep picking her brain. I like that. Anything else regarding recs and parks?
Nope.
Okay. All right. I do love hearing we have 520 acres of green space on the hilltop.
569.
Okay, 569, right? That's huge. That's huge. Okay, there are no unfinished business. There's none. There is no new business. And, does anybody have anything this last minute that we have?
If you're not running for a second or a third term as a commissioner, please find somebody else to replace you. Or let me know. So far, I've had one for sure packet request. So I know for sure of one person who is seeking a position. Again, there's 4 elected positions open with a 5th being appointed in December, January. But if you know anybody in the community that would love to serve as an area commissioner for the Hilltop, please talk to them or send them my information or send me their information so I can talk to them.
I like to.
Yes.
I'd like to remind everyone, there's no meeting in August. We are taking a recess. I've been saying that all day. We're taking a recess in August. And we will resume the first Tuesday in September. And that's a yearly thing. That's not anything new. We've been doing that. Yes, sir.
Just a very quick question for public safety. What's your next schedule? I know it's moved around a bit. I want
It
to.
has not been moving around a bit.
Okay, then that's.
The
that's my
meeting.
mistake.
The 4th
The 27th
Thursday
at
or
6:30,
yeah.
Saturday. Thank you.
Mark, would you have today?
Thursday or this fourth Saturday?
It's Saturday or Thursday? It's Saturday. It's
The
third.
is on the website, it's a Saturday, but we've been meeting on Thursdays.
Oh.
Thursday.
Okay, so it's the 25th.
27th is
Saturday.
Saturday.
Oh,
So 7:25.
25th.
Okay.
6:30.
Is there anything else? Any other questions, comments? Having hearing none?
Second.
She seconds it. Okay.
Are we allowed to leave
I
before the
moved that we,
closing announcement?
I'm sorry?
Are we allowed to leave before the closing announcement?
No, you're not. No,
Right.
I will ding you, right? Having hearing none, I move that we are adjourned.
Second.
All those in favor? So moved. 7:51.